Welcome everybody to the February 4th meeting of the town board. I call this meeting to order. We'll start going down the agenda. We had a meeting on January 7th of 2013. The minutes in your package. What says the board? Who's got a motion? Second. John's got a second. All in favor, raise your hand. Okay. We got a minute or two here. We have a 7:05 public session. We got a minute or two. We can handle the person to be heard. Doug Norton. Come on up here, Doug. Talk to us. Okay. Where'd you kill?
Look who's cold for the guilt tonight. I was out on that rain that day when it was raining so hard. I had it on that day, but not tonight. What I wanted to do tonight was to come in and give you an update on the place of Scotland and how we're doing and what's happening. And I'm very pleased and happy to say that things are really coming together really well. The downtown merchants are really coming to our support. They are making donations to the cost of Scotland. Almost 2-1. We've got about 20 some odd different merchants right now that are sponsoring, help us sponsor the Taste of Scotland. And that means they're coming up with some of their monies to help us do this. Of course, we've got a long way to go and a lot of money to raise, but they're really helping out. This it's going to be on our billboard. This is what we're going to have for all people driving by, to look and see that. But we have a lot of events that are coming together. Our art competition is moving right along. It's just some little things we have to clear up about that. We're getting responses from our website that's up. Some vendors are emailing in and wanting to be a vendor. We've got some that want calling in and want to be in the entertainment end of it. So our website is attracting a lot of attention. We're getting responses from it. The events are falling in, like I said earlier, and it's really looking good. I think we're going to put on a Taste of Scotland and Celtic Festival that people will be talking about for a long time. Yes. We have a great committee working with me that is really helping out. So we think it's going to be bigger and better than ever. And we're going to bring a lot of people into the town of Franklin, and they're going to spend a lot of money downtown.
Well, we appreciate your efforts, because it takes that one person to take it all and run with it. Got to move you on right now.
I've got it, and with the help of Bonnie and some other people, we're running down that field and we're making progress on it.
Thanks for the update, Doug. Thank you. All right. Now we'll shift to, got a public hearing set on petition for the rezoning of property at 142 Harrison Avenue. Derek, come give us the executive summary right quick. We've got 2 pages of people signed up to talk, so be short, okay? Sure.
You have before you in your agenda packet tonight the information that goes along with the rezoning petition submitted by Todd and April Duval for the rezoning of the property located at 142 Harrison Avenue. This is 2/10 of an acre in size, and by authorizing this petition, what you would be doing is enabling them to rezone their property from R1 as it is currently to C1, which is our commercial district. The property is solely accessed by Harrison Avenue, and the planning board at their last meeting has recommended full approval, as they felt that this rezoning would further the continuity of the C1 corridor along Harrison Avenue, as it's illustrated in your map. And this rezoning petition also embodies the principles of growth that have been adopted by this town board. And you have in front of you the zoning consistency statement, and in authorizing this rezoning and signing that statement, the board would be enabling the Duvals to rezone their property from residential, as it is currently, to central commercial.
All right. Thank you for the summary. Now's the time, public hearing persons to be heard. Typically, you'd sign up a sheet. Must not have been a pen up there, because nobody signed up. But if there's someone here who wants to be heard pro or con regarding the petition for the rezoning of 142 Harrison Avenue, speak now or forever hold your peace. There being no participants in the public hearing, we would conclude the public hearing and then I'll go ahead and put it back in open session to the board for their comments and suggestions, thoughts, or action. Seems like it needs to be done.
Building in the rest of it. Yeah. Turning it on like what it needs to be.
Two sides,
Yeah, two sides are.
one side's sideways.
Have you all had an opportunity to see the town board alderman zoning consistency statement? Is it the one in front of you? Was it just for the start date? So I'm assuming the motion is favorable would be to approve the rezoning plus the signing of the consistency statement. Did you prepare this, John?
No, Derek did, but we conferred about it. It's essentially, you are required every time you do a rezoning by statute, 168-3, you're required to adopt a statement of why it's consistent with your adopted growth and development, like comprehensive plan, which we have never had one per se. And so you're still required to adopt a statement of how it fits in with your general plan. This has always come to the board from the planning board, and the board's just always adopted their statement.
Okay.
So this is just a different thing, skin in the sand.
Sure. Okay. We have a motion then, favorable on the petition, and then the place of assign the zoning consistency statement. You got a motion?
Second.
Got choices on seconds there. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Those opposed, on sign it. Pass this down to Jennifer. Okay, we'll go back to public session. Martha, Holbrook. No S on the end of that name.
No S on mine.
I grew up thinking different.
And I'm here just to give you an update on what the downtown businesses have been working on. First, we want to share with you some tentative 2013 Street Fest dates. We had a committee that looked at all of the local event calendars and spoke with Coach Brooks to confirm game dates, and we certainly didn't want to conflict with any home games or other events. So the first one is June 28th. Next one will be July 26th, August 23rd, September 27th, and October 25th. Also, just to restate that as the event guidelines continue to be developed and discussed, we request open discussion with public comment on that. As merchants, we understand the need for consistency, but also need to have freedom for spontaneous events as opportunities arise and we see the need for an economic boost. The downtown merchants are working together to develop a promotion or event each month. This month, we're having a Valentine giveaway. We invite each of you to visit our businesses to register to win our gift basket valued at $250. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thanks for your effort, for the interest of the town. Lonnie Peggs, Don Capaforte, Angel Manable. Oh, visual aids.
I love insurance. Not only am I the Director of Marketing and Public Relations, I'm also hospital chaplain. And what I've found over the years is that one of the things that we don't have at the hospital is a place for people to have respite. Whether they're in the ER, whether they're a family member waiting for somebody in surgery, whether they're up on the floor. And all over our campus, we have a number of memorials where people have bought a stone or a bench or something, and we wanted a place to where we could have one place that would be a memorial garden, not only to recognize people in memory, but also for people to have respite. Stephen Baldwin, who's a local landscape architect, did this rendering for us, and we're asking for the town to give us some of the land that's up against our land, and we put that in your packet. It's both a plot and an aerial view of where that is. It's on the back side of here.
This will blow up what you have in your packet. As you can see, we border on 3 sides of the town property here. And we're just asking to draw a line straight across the 2 sides that we have. We're asking for the town to donate that property in order for us to build this memorial garden.
Don, how much is that 1.57 acres?
It's 1.1.
1.1
1.1 acres.
That line in the sand, what is that in connection with the bank starts climbing?
Right on the edge of the bank.
All flat property down there pretty much?
No, it slopes down, and then when you get to the bottom, it flattens out a little bit, but it's still sloped. It'll take grading on it. We don't have that grading.
You want us to pay for that too?
No.
Only if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is about approximately, you can see it on the small plat that you have. It just goes from our property line on the east side, straight across to the property line on the west side of the town property. It's about approximately 250 feet, 255 feet, one line straight across. The area encompasses.
Oh, this piece of property is near and dear to me. Ask Bob and Billy about this big. Bob?
I do.
Yeah. I had an idea about 10 years ago that the hospital needed this property more than the town. Boy, we're maybe getting there. I don't know, maybe not. But, you know, the town can't get stuff like that. They can work on the lease, whatever. And we certainly can't make any decision tonight if this person should be heard. But we do understand that you all are busting out of the seams and that you provide certainly, you know, great service to the community and the county. And we cannot point to a usage of that property that I can remember. So, you know, we may be on something, but it's a start. We'll have we'll have to put it on our discussion agenda, so to speak. And you weren't expecting anything tonight except.
No, sir.
We just want to present it.
On the discussion agenda down below, why don't, 6 feet?
That's the same, okay. All right. All right, well then, you've given us the highlights of it then, so just put that down and have a seat. We're going to get back to it on the regular agenda here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's move on down to committee reports. Streets Committee, a recommendation on the renaming of Highway 28 North and NC 28 business. Cissy LeBroy.
Next week we're gonna look at, Derek, and this was, the DOT wanted us to meet and look at this, and Derek is going to present, he and Warren both of them.
Okay.
If you will read over this email, This was the correspondence between Wesley Grindstaff, who's the division engineer for the DOT, and myself. Basically, what has happened is that what is now the Depot Street extension is going to be classified as North Carolina, as future North Carolina 28. And with that, the DOT has given us two options of which we could choose from regarding the Harrison Avenue and 441 business. And we chose option 2, which has been highlighted in the email after meeting with the Streets Committee with Cincy, Joyce, myself, Mr. Cave, and Mr. Grindstaff via telephone. We decided on option 2 as we felt it would be most appropriate and the least headache. And when I say headache, I mean that only one thing would change under option 2, whereas option 1 has some other changes, such as the extending what is now 441 business. This would just involve one change, which would be the Harrison Avenue.
And it's a small thing. And this is just a recommendation that we do stay. It has to go to the county, has to do their recommendation. And then the state will do what they, whatever they want to do. But it shows that of course, North Carolina 28 was going to be there anyway. That's a given. And then the biggest chunk of the thing would be Harrison Avenue.
And we're still waiting to hear back.
We can't, that's not it.
Okay, well, where are we at in the process then? Do we need to decide tonight to approve option 2? Is that among this board? Do we need to do that, or is that
I
already
think
been?
all we have, you would just have to approve of option 2 if you wanted to. I really don't have to, what you're saying.
Yeah, the board
Then
needs
it
to discuss it.
Yeah, I mean, at least we need to get to that point.
And they also stated that there would be much less changes for 911. And one Dave said that this would be much more feasible, much less.
Warden's a good case for option 1, make it if there is.
Actually, I don't think there is, Mr. Mayor. That actually involved renaming some roads around outside of town that was just very inconvenient for us, the way we looked at it. The easiest, most simple, concise way to do it was to go with option 2, and obviously now it's got to go into the process with the county road name system through DOT. So we felt as of the 2 options we were given, option 2 was in the best interest of the town.
Well, I expect the board's not to be willing to take the recommendation of those. Yeah.
That's all.
That's all it is.
Yeah, but that's not us.
That's outside.
We don't have the last say on that. But this is just something that we approve, but we just need to approve.
All right, somebody come up with a good motion to that effect.
I make a motion that we go back to option 2.
Is that enough to get us there, to move on down the road?
You would add to recommend option 2 to the North Carolina DOT.
Okay. All right. You making a second that motion? You answer on it, you may want to be.
Somebody else want to jump in for a second?
We got a motion, we got a second. Do we have any further discussion on this? All those in favor, raise your hand. I pass it without objection. Okay. Does that take care of 682? No, we've already, that's Harrison Avenue, you have me covered there, right? Okay, now we can talk about the Angel Medical Center project on the agenda. That Don and Bonnie have shown us, they want us to give them some land down there, just draw a line, that's all he said, draw a line.
I think that project is well worth And I think, of course, that land we know, there's not much we can do with that land. But at the same time, I think maybe a lease is something that we could do.
Lease is a much cleaner, simpler thing for the town to do. The long-term lease,
At $1 a year.
$1 a year or whatever.
We could go ahead and get rent on that building that we had on there for all these years too. Can we do that? We think they've been encroaching for years now. You know, I
They
think,
thought it
You're
regarding.
talking about setting a fine or something?
yeah, then I need to go to the picture room or something, Bill. They'll get it back.
How far back does this go from our parking lot?
Is there parking lot and then it's just a steep hill?
It drops.
And then it kind of starts to flatten off a little bit.
Right.
And this is at the base of, this is at the base.
that, how far it comes off the parking lot?
Because grading that area, you wouldn't want to do anything that would upset what
No.
we've got up here in our parking lot fall
No. No, we won't come anywhere near that.
off.
You know, what I'm sensing here is there's a lot of good, a good reaction. There's gonna need to be a survey, need to be a line shot. We probably owe it to ourselves and our due diligence to go down there or have the opportunity to go look to see and make sure it's not, you know, it's where it is. Like, what you're planning on constructing on it, is it a real permanency or?
It would be permanent. It includes the fountain, trees,
benches,
benches.
walks,
I only wondered about this about 2 hours ago. And before we go giving town property away, I would like to have the opportunity to go down and look at this thing. Before we make any kind of decision. I think there's just a lot of questions that need to be answered here, one being the precedent of giving town property away. Or,
No, I don't think anybody.
Don't worry, that is one of the issues that you lease.
Yeah,
Or a long-term lease.
yeah. That's right, that's right. I
This
don't
would
know.
be for usage of a lot of our town taxpayers. A lot of people have had people living in hospitals or have lost people. Yeah, it is a nice place for them to go. I can see the need for that too.
Yes, but it also is a piece of land with its own freestanding value. We haven't been using it to speak of, but it absolutely has its own use other than just the hospital. But, you know, that's not to dissuade it, but it's something that we do need to give consideration to. And obviously, we're not in position to make any decisions tonight without seeing the survey lines marked off to see where it is. I think the best we can do is give you all a favorable, you know, at least go back and say that they're, sounds good, but would it be incumbent upon the hospital to go ahead and get a survey line drawn and so that there's some markers so that we would know where the corners were gonna be? What do you think, Bill?
we can do that.
I think so. I mean, that would obviously, that would need to be the next. Y'all leaving?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Did I go with you?
You did the shadowing today?
Yes,
Hope it worked out well.
it did.
Okay, thank you. Now, does anybody, John?
Well, the only thing I would add, I wholeheartedly agree that the property disposal statute is far preferable for the town's sake to pursue a long-term lease. The only thing I would say about leases, though, is that anything over a year and less than 10 years can just be approved by the board without any other process. If it's over 10 years, you have to subject it to a bid process the same way you do a sale. And I can see the next question coming is what do anybody bid on if it's a lease, but that's what the statute says. So we're probably looking at a maximum of 10 years, but I don't know any reason that can't be 10 years with automatically renewing for a
Well, I'm just looking at this aerial photograph, is that not a woody area down there?
It is.
Part of it, the green part is grass that our landscape people mow, because it's right next to the parking lot back there by the Great Wall. So then it's, that part is clear, but most of it is wooded.
And the part that y'all want's over an acre?
I'm sorry?
The part that you're wanting is over an acre?
1.099.
Well, I guess the map I'm looking at is the county planning map, and it shows that whole parcel of land's only 1.55 acres. I'm lost somewhere.
Well, yeah, Bob, I think before we can really do anything, they need to bring us a map of the property. We'll have to be able to draw a description of it, should there be a lease of it. And us have the opportunity to go down and look for the corners, get whoever it is to mark and close. Let our legal department, John, Sam, and I'll figure out the best possible way, should they leave the board in point and fashion, a way to get the hospital the use of this land. But other than that, I'm not certain that we're in a position to go further tonight. Okay? And I believe it's incumbent upon them to go ahead and get a surveyor out there. Yes. All right.
We'll do that.
Good. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you for your time.
All right. Rezoning petition for section of Pauline Avenue. Derek.
How y'all doing tonight? Included in your agenda packet are petitions for rezoning that have been submitted by Gary and Edith Holland and Natasha Talent to rezone their properties as they currently stand from R1 to R2. And this, of course, is, as you can see, the terminus of Pauline Avenue. These three parcels are the last 13.47 acres on this corridor. And we ask at this time that if you send this down to the planning board is going to meet on February 18th, and the planning board will get a recommendation back to the Board of Aldermen at this time.
At the March meeting?
Yes, sir.
This is presently at R1.
Yes, it's presently R1. They're requesting to change it to R2.
This is the same property that they tried to get commercial a couple of years ago.
Tried to get for those housing, which ended up behind the Westgate. It was the same developer, same project. Was it different?
No, this is the same property that was.
It's not the same property, but I thought they were initially trying to work off Pauline.
This is the same applicants that had submitted that for the apartment complex.
How long ago was that?
He maybe a year or two.
The reason I brought that up, I thought there was a limitation, they wouldn't even come back and ask them. It's a year. It's a year, they fell over a year.
So they were.
You were still in the old town hall when that came out.
And I think it predates the UDO, and that when it came into effect, it changed. I think their purposes can be accomplished now with this rezoning versus what they were trying to do before, which wasn't.
But weren't they asking for it to go to commercial then?
Yes.
Now they're asking for it to go to R2. Wouldn't that?
Because R2 permits multi-use, multi-family uses, right?
Yes.
But for now, we just need both to send it to planning board.
Yes, sir.
Make a motion to send it to planning board.
Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Opposed? Okay. Counter Franklin Employee Education Policy. Human Resource Officer Ashley Howard and County Attorney John Minnie Jr. Come on up, Ashley.
Thanks for letting me talk to you tonight. Please send out to you all a copy of the policy that I'm here to propose tonight on education and training. I'm here to answer any questions that you might have. do hope to see that this is something that we can get approved, so we can put in our personnel policy as an additional benefit to our employees, and so that we are investing in our employees and promoting ongoing education and training. I do have one addendum I would like to make, even though we haven't had a chance to go over what I had submitted to you. On the last page of the policy, under the process, I had originally put in that after employees did receive certain educations and trainings, licensures and certifications, that they would be eligible once a year for a 2% increase to their pay. I would like to make an addendum to take that 2% out and leave that option, the amount, up to the town manager and human resources officer, due to varying degrees and certificates, some taking a lot more time than others. So I thought that may be a good thing to have a little bit more flexibility in that.
I think you'll all want to know that, and you may, if you've read, you've seen that this policy leaves any kind of decision that's budgetary in nature up to the management, and in the constraints of the budget that you all will have passed. And so this is probably more to define and kind of limit how much membership and tuition and things like that are reimbursable to employees, rather than open up new avenues to that. It's more to define how and when we're going to do it.
Yeah, this basically, currently we don't really have established criteria or guidelines for this sort of thing at all, so this would be a basis of that. In those guidelines also, something that we threw in there too is to have a tuition reimbursement policy, something that we don't currently have. And it does state in the policy that this is determined by each budget year if funds are available. And there would be an application process for each employee to go through. They must be a full-time employee for a year to be eligible for these sort of things.
Actually, do we do any reimbursement now, except for, I know we would reimburse something directly to the town if they were required by the town.
We have no tuition reimbursement policy whatsoever, but as he stated, you know, yeah, there's nothing to better them, but we do support employees going to trainings and, you know, seminars and such. But this also would give guidelines to when that is appropriate, a true process to follow. We currently don't have an application process for that. This policy would make an application process for the department head, as well as camp manager would know. Human resources would also be aware, so that we can help our employees move across their pay scale as well.
I can think of two right off the hand employees that have gotten degrees and they studied the entire building themselves. I think this is a great step toward being a benefit to our employees and the town.
I agree. Something else that is in the policy as well is if we are investing our money into these employees to do so, they will have to give a commitment for each year of tuition reimbursement. They would have to give a year back to the town as well.
This is a model off of other policies, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those policies that's pretty straightforward, municipality to municipality. This is very similar also just to something I was dealing with in my past employment as well. It's, I think, a pretty basic concept. But mostly, I guess, my biggest thing is that we can actually have an established criteria, and this could go into our personnel policy, because we currently do not have anything in there as far as education and training. And we have a lot of positions that do require licensure and certifications, a lot of positions that do really need ongoing education and training. So hopefully this would encourage employees to do so more often.
Bob's seems to have given his stamp of approval on it. Here's some of the others.
I think very good.
Actually, is there anything in there that requires, like if they're working on a 4-year degree or working on a 2-year degree, is anything in there that requires to get reimbursed if they have to attain a grade level or like guess, 2.0 or C or above. Is anything in there like that? Most of them have something like that.
You're right. In this situation, I did not put that in there. I put that it would be upon the completion of the course, because in past experiences, I've seen where they are getting those A's, but then they don't complete the course. They may go through a semester and do great, but not actually in the end come up with a degree. So this way, they're guaranteed if they want that reimbursement, they would have had to complete their associate's bachelor's.
Pass fail, you say, pass
Yes.
fail, right?
Lessons learned.
So in other words, if they was just going to school and taking classes, they wouldn't necessarily get any reimbursement, but if they finished a 2-year degree program, an associate degree, then they can apply for it.
Yes, for the tuition reimbursement, but if they're just taking courses that aren't being applied to a specific degree, upon approval from the department head and the town manager, we could pay for those individual courses. But if they want to be reimbursed for their overall tuition costs, yes.
And again, there's nothing contractual about any of this, so it's not like you're guaranteed to keep that. It's always going to be subject to approval by management and within the confines of the budget. So somebody who's really not, management will know if somebody's just taking pottery classes or, something along those lines is not going to fly.
And as a policy, we can update it at any time we should come up with something.
Sure. Yeah, and I think too, as we grow and as we implement these type of things, we're going to see things that we will need to change and adjust and add, and it'd be easy to go back and do so.
In other words, a C graduate from law school can become an attorney.
I may not comment on that.
Yeah, what do you call the guy who finished last in his med class? A doctor. That's right. Yeah, we did a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the policy.
Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Guidelines for festivals and events. Maybe the keynote of this crowd. Warren?
Probably was trying to get Derek to do mine too.
Ashley did all right.
Thank you. We'll hand out some documents to the public. Y'all have this back for anybody that wants one. About a month and a half ago, we were tasked with basically reviewing the process that folks have to go through to hold a festival event in Franklin. And the first place we decided to start was to look and see where we're at and see what we had in place and see what we've been doing in the past. And what you see in your packet tonight, what you see handed out to the folks back here, is basically what we developed as an application for folks to bring back to the town if you want to have some sort of festival event. It also has timelines on it that I'll explain in a few minutes, and it has some other information on it. We didn't change anything. We haven't changed any rules. We also haven't changed any ordinances. We changed the process by what we do to approve anything, but we've taken 3 or 4 different documents and the information that was there and put it into one concise document that can be very easily understood by folks who come and pick this up. Our intent is to have both these 2 pages that you have here in your package available for folks to come and fill out and bring this stuff back to us. It has a lot of basic stuff in there as far as who's holding an organization, what kind of event you're going to have. It also has a timeline in there on some things that have to be provided to the town, and we've got the timeline in there of 2 months. And the reason that is if there's something, and we didn't list every ordinance, every rule, we thought about trying to put that in there, and this document would have been way too big to be very user-friendly for folks to come pick up. The 2-month thing is if you need to come back and something that the board needs to approve, then that gives us time to get it on the agenda, to get it to you all, to discuss it, to go through our due diligence and make sure all the requirements are met so that we're not waiting to the last minute to get something done. But yet we're still not being too burdensome on folks and trying to say, well, you got to give it to us 6 months in advance. With that, that's the time frame we developed there. We go down, under the, where we have a checklist, we also have some things to go through there as far as what folks need to think about when they come and decide to have a festival.
And you'll notice that the last box under the action to be taken 2 months prior is to sit down and actually meet with the Main Street Executive Director and Town Planner. And that facilitates that communication that folks are always concerned about, not just on our part, but on the festival requesting agency's part, so that we sit down with the folks that are actually going to be reviewing this stuff face to face and go over these issues and make sure we can talk about and figure out what our issues are. Because there's no better way to work it out and figure out where you're at than sit down with these folks and talk it out and figure out where we're at. And then on down toward the bottom, you see some other things that the festival organizers can actually request, whether it be the restaurant facilities, the town hall, or Macon County, which we have to go through the county to request that, the sound system, any tables and chairs, any of those other things. And we also put some guidelines in there too that if you need an ambulance to stand by on Main Street for an event, then you need to make sure you contact EMS for that. And public health, which Summer and I found out through our insurance agency is a big deal for folks when, especially municipalities, when you start dealing with festivals, is make sure public health is involved for big events to make sure you don't have any issues in there. As far as the insurance coverage, I will move from the first page, which is our application, the one-page application, to the second page in your packet, which is the North Carolina Department of Transportation temporary lane / road closure permit. The liability insurance that we have listed there says if applicable. That number is essentially out of our hands. The second document that you'll see is what's actually sent to DOT, whether it be Linda doing it for our festivals or whether it be somebody else that's requested to have a DOT street or road closed sent to them, and they're the ones that actually require the $1 million insurance. So that we put both of these forms in conjunction so they both be filled out at the same time, submitted in a timely fashion, and sent to the proper folks. Now, where do we go from here? I'm not asking for approval on this tonight, that this is an administrative thing. The people this need to work for, and I hate to say it, is not for you all. This has to work for our staff. It has to work for these folks back here that have a festival. We're going to roll this out immediately. We'll make it available through Linda. Matter of fact, I think we've already given out one copy or had some interest for one copy for one event that wanted to see this. We'll get Kevin, get it on the webpage and get it out to folks. We'll see how it works with our staff. We'll see how it works with the folks that actually have to use it. And then we'll deal with the form that needs to be changed, anything later on. But this is a good starting point for you. Now, where do we go from here? Rules, regulations, any ordinances that apply, those things are not going to be changed immediately. There has to be some thought process go into those. And we knew when we got into this process, and I told the committee when we started meeting, one of the things we need to be prepared for is when you've been doing business as long as the town of Franklin has, that there are going to be things that we're going to find that either were done years ago that don't necessarily match the way things are now, or there may be things that contradict each other in certain places, whether they were intentionally designed that way or not. There are a couple of things in particular that we need to bring back to you either next month or at a later date, some things that the board needs to consider with these events and festivals. I'll throw them out there, part of them right off the bat. The banner issue. There were some questions about banners. Well, the banner process is by ordinance written how it is on this form right here. If that needs to be changed, if you all don't want banners, if you want a different approval process, that's going to have to go through the ordinance approval or ordinance modification process to get that changed. And if we're going to deal with that, we need to bring it up and do it. A couple other minor questions we had. There's a town ordinance that has to deal with temporary structures in streets. It says you can't have a temporary structure in a street where a vendor's selling products. That was intended, I know, years ago to keep people from, on a day like today, from blocking Main Street up here trying to peddle something on Main Street. It was never intended to apply if we shut down both ends of Main Street to keep people from sitting up in the middle of the street. But depending on how you read it, it may or may not. So just some things, even though I know what the intent is, to clarify some of those things for us in the future, we need to take a good hard look at them in the very near future and go through there and get the input that we're hearing that folks need to get to us and look at those objectively and see where we want to go. So
basically tonight, I just want to present you with the first step on what we're doing. We're not finished. We'll have some other recommendations to bring back to you, some things for the board to think about. And I'll be honest with you, some of them are not going to be easy decisions, but unfortunately, that's why you're where you're at. We have to bring you those and let you decide which direction you want the town to go and which policies you want to uphold, and we'll go from there. Any questions on this before I move on to
What's that average cost for $1 million policy for an event?
it's about a couple $100. It varies from carrier to carrier.
We've actually found with TDA, you know, and bringing that on as a requirement for special events, that coverage is really not that expensive and not hard to secure, not unreasonable to ask for, given, you know, the participation that we have and liability we have.
But there's some other discussion that we'll be bringing back. We had some fairly serious discussions over the insurance requirements and what's pertinent, what's not. And one of the things that was made very clear to us, and Linda was a big supporter of this, was to make sure that any of those requirements don't penalize, particularly your smaller nonprofit organizations that they may have a $2,000 a year budget. You know, you can't. At some point, we have to draw the line on where we're protecting the town from liability versus being extremely oppressive to those folks and not allowing them to have any festivals at all. And somewhere we've got to find that common ground. There are some options we're looking at. Our insurance package is going to start to be reviewed in April. I've already emailed our carrier to inform them that this is one of the issues we want to look at to see what the town's liability is and where we can go from here and what our options are. So that's, you know, we can't change that tonight, but it's something that you're going to see coming up in the next couple of months on what we can do to find that middle ground, to keep us protected, but still allow folks to function on Main Street as they should, or any other place in town. Yes, Bob.
We looked at asking our carrier if there would be such a thing as a blanket policy.
We have, and that was actually, Summer actually talked to our travelers representative, and that's one of the big things that they're pushing now. Liability issues for festivals is a huge issue now in the insurance world. So that is one of the things that we will certainly look at the option of when we do our policy in April.
I was thinking if the Girl Scouts want to have a cookie sale,
Right.
if that would be
And those are
liability.
those are the folks we don't want to keep from having events on Main Street. Now, the problem we have is the DOT standard. The DOT standards. If you want to close a DOT street, somebody somewhere's got to have $1 million insurance.
We got to watch some Girl Scouts close.
If the Girl Scouts are going to invite 1,500 people to come, you know.
That's right. Yeah, I see where the line's going to be hard to draw.
And that, I would say, Summer, correct me if I'm wrong, Linda, that insurance question probably took up the biggest part of at least 2 of the meetings we had. So that's certainly something we're looking at.
Refresh us, who all's on the committee?
The committee consists of myself, Summer Woodard, Chief Adams, Linda Schlover. I'll leave out anybody. Oh, Derek Rowe. One person doing it all night.
And you suggested that the issue of the banners is included in this?
That's actually included in where we have to have the 2-month notice, because banners have to be approved by the town board by ordinance. If you wanted a banner submitted, that has to be sent in with this process and say, I want a banner across the street. You would find out when you met with Derek or Linda that it required board approval, and that's where the 2-month time frame allows us time to get to you to get the proper approval back to us. Now, that's one of those things that if you want to change that ordinance and you want to delegate it to staff members to make that decision, then we can do that when and if we take a look at that ordinance. Or if you just don't want them at all, then that decision just needs to be made, and that's what we'll carry out. I'm not sure why that was put in that way, other than perhaps back during the town administrator days, you didn't have a manager to actually make those decisions. If I were in your shoes, my personal preference is I would set the policy on what I expect out of those banners, and I would delegate that to staff to make that decision. If you want them at all, then you don't have to deal with them. You can blame me at that point instead of deal with it yourself. Or if you don't want them at all, I mean, that's fine. Or if you want to make those decisions.
that's okay. But that's something that needs to be brought before you all to decide how you want that. Yes, Bob.
I looked a little bit into some banners, and it's not unusual for towns to require banners to meet a certain physical, like pulleys and grommets and wind holes, things of that nature. Would it be possible for us not to come up with a design that would work where they're gonna put the banner up, and then all the banners basically have to meet that criteria, the wind holes and the grommets and all that?
I'm sure we could, and that was one of the other issues we looked at with Derek was signage. We have to be very careful. We have a sign ordinance, and even though we want to make sure, particularly we're the town, that we meet the intent of what our own rules and regulations are, and make sure that folks understand what those are, but yet we still facilitate those instances when you have something like that.
I think we need to talk about banners and the way they're put up. We don't have any power poles any longer to fasten those banners across the street, and they're being fastened to private buildings. I don't see these two buildings pulling into Main Street. So I think somehow, if they're going to be attached, or we're thinking about attaching them to private property, then we're going to have something from that owner released from the town of the liability. Because I'm really concerned about that.
Yeah, that goes part and parcel of when we just address the subject as a whole then.
It's our intent to go back through those and bring some issues back to you for discussion. If there's something in particular that you have heard denied or something you've got in your mind that you want us to get back and look at and get back to, we're glad to do that. And by the same token, from the general public, if there are other issues that you're aware of, then please get them to us. And it may not be the most popular thing. The best way to get it on the table and deal with it. So let's not beat around the bush. Let's get it on the table and deal with it. And even though we're all not going to necessarily agree on the decision that's made, we'll make a decision and go.
Merchants, what do you say? Where does this put us? You got something to look at now. You don't have to agree with you to come back with your parking plans and whatever, but it is a start, I believe, towards something.
I like what I'm hearing, you know,
Yeah.
on behalf of myself.
I do, I'd like to see the, a definition of events or festivals. I think they're two, and kind of define those, the Girl Scouts or whatever.
Yes, ma'am,
I'd like to see that defined.
I understand. And actually, that was one of the things,
And Melinda, correct me if I'm wrong, we went through that whole process and looked, and I don't think we ever really had a clear definition between a festival and an event, so that may be the thing.
If we have somebody who just wants to have a race.
Right, you know, is
They want
that
to
an
have a
event,
race.
and that probably is not a festival, so yes, I agree.
Or the Arts Council wants to use a gazebo.
Right.
That's that.
Yeah, that's my only, like Bobby Catino or Fall,
Right.
the Arts
Right.
Council.
Right.
That as an event, I don't know, I'd like to see that definition.
Well, and we had we had some odd occurrences. We discussed the llama.
Yes, the llama lady
The
at
llama
gazebo.
thing that we had at the gazebo, you know. Where does that fall? It's not really a festival, it's an event, but, you know, is it fair to require that lady that wants to use that space to have $1 million in insurance? Legally, probably yes, but ethically, do we deny her to use that property?
You're always going to have to ask those questions.
And at some point, we're never going to be completely covered on everything. We're going to be liable for something. So we've just got to find that middle ground that make everybody.
So what's the next step then?
We need to, we'll, any input you all have on anything you want us to look at, then we'll certainly bring that back in the next month or so. But if not, we will have a couple of items that we're going to bring you. I'll bring you the banner issue. Let's put the banner issue on the table and deal with it. Let's put the temporary structures. We need to get that ordinance brought up and probably modified a little, because we know the intent of that ordinance is not to keep people from blocking the street, doing vendor things during festivals, and basically start from there.
And still, there's to be the underlying question. Somebody comes and presents, and they checked off all the right boxes. does who has the final say, yeah, they can have that event or no, they can't?
Technically, Linda, you might be the best one to answer that question. If they've checked off the box, then
I'm not sure the board would ever want to divest itself of the chance, you know, we don't know what these events are gonna be. We don't know who's gonna be promoting them. We don't know what's gonna be the theme of it. We don't know whether it's gonna be, and none of these folks we're not talking about, but events doesn't have to all come from merchants, right? Right. So I would hate to think that we wouldn't have the ability to say, well, you don't want that on our streets.
But if they did that, then I'm sure if there's one professional that.
But still though, the decision will be made by the department head.
Well, like Joe, with the llama one, you know, when the llama woman, the woman with the llamas wanted the gazebo, you know, she came to me and she told me what she wanted, and then I went to Sam and said, this is what she wants to do, and Sam was the one that gave the okay for her to have her
Clan rally.
llama.
Something like that. Events like that.
I'm not sure you do.
I'm not sure
I
that.
don't know, we're not gonna stop.
Can't stop it.
But,
Don't you call it first amendment?
yeah, okay, I'll retract that.
I
Let's move
understand.
on, what do you got, one of us next?
Let me answer the question.
Yeah, that's right.
I won't dodge the question.
Accomplish that. We ain't stopping that. We ain't stopping that one, no.
My assumption would be, unless it's something out of ordinary, that could be a staff decision. However, if the board feels differently, if you want to direct.
If it was something that far out of the ordinary, it would get to the board.
Yeah, I think it would probably get to the board from there.
While we're on that, something I'd like for this committee, since it's formed, to look at. I've had a lot of people ask me about this panhandling in the intersections. David, where are you hiding?
We discussed it. I think that's what you had.
And you know, we've got a interesting thing. We've got an outfit we really don't know much about, and then we've got the Shriners and the Triple Children. So I don't know. I would like this committee to kind of look at and come back with some kind of recommendation. No, not really. It's kind of an event. On the street.
I think that's different.
Directed by the ordinance already, it needs to be tweaked a little bit, especially on the exception.
I agree
Right
that.
there, you're getting that, bring back to the board.
Right.
Have a look.
All right, have we done enough on this one,
I
Sam?
reckon so, sand use and stuff.
Okay, all right, yeah. Thank you, we'll move on then. You still here? Dave, come on up. Bob, might want to ask you about the town hall. Please.
No, I want the committee to look into that. David and I have talked about it.
There was nothing we could do as morning, I discussed it, as of right now.
As it is right now.
The fall of your VFW has the Hopkins, they do the same thing. No, as well as they did that.
Yeah. Do we have the Shriners?
Right.
Do we have kind of do?
High school car wash.
But we can't make everybody get a permit.
Yeah, that's what we
We
are.
require safety vests and things like that.
Yeah, there you go.
We can do that.
Yeah. Yeah, Johnny Copper, back with us. All right, talk about, what do y'all want, some software?
I'll actually start, and then we'll let David fill in the blanks from whatever I don't know. A little bit of history on this project. Criminal Justice Information System is requiring that computer systems the police department uses, particularly the mobile computers in the cars, to access tags, criminal histories, things like that, to have what's known as a two-tier authentication system to October 1st. And it's basically a security measure to verify that the right people are accessing that system. We have a couple of options to do that, and the option we're going to present you tonight, there is no way around it, but let me explain to you the reason this is going to be the best option. What we're proposing is to basically let the police department swap over from the computer system we're using now to a system that's developed by a company called Interact. And in conjunction with some upgrades from a company called NetMotion, which upgrades the wireless system in the cars. This will bring us up into compliance with that two-tier, two-step authentication process that's required by the Criminal Justice Information System. It does have to be completed by October, which means we could technically wait until next budget year to try and budget this. However, a couple of things that were brought up. Our current maintenance agreement on our software system now expires first day of July. So we would have to renew another year's worth of maintenance on a software system that we're going to throw out if we go with this, if we don't go ahead and move with it this budget year. Also, by converting over to this Interact system, this is actually the computer-aided dispatch system that the Macon County 911 system uses. And there's some benefits by swapping over to this particular licensing of software. In addition to meeting those requirements for the two-step authentication that we're required to have anyway, it also is going to allow the officers in the cars to have the CAD screen, the stuff that the dispatchers enters on the screen, to be pushed out to the cars for the officers. They'll get a whole bunch more information right on the computer in front of them that they wouldn't normally be getting. And probably the most important thing for their safety and for our safety and for you all as a governing board is the vehicle location system. By having this particular system in place, those cars are going to show up on the map over at the dispatch office. And you think, well, that's not a real big issue. Franklin's not that big, but it is a really big issue because number one, it allows the dispatcher to send the closest car. Number two, it covers you on the back end of things. For instance, there's something going on in a neighborhood and somebody gets robbed in the middle of the night and the citizen says, well, the police department, they called it the police department all night. Well, no, here's the map, here's where they were, we tracked them last night, we know where they're at. We're not Big Brother, but it covers us a little on the liability end to say, okay, our officers are out patrolling, they're actually out here. This system we actually looked at when I was at the county, and it's actually capable of even tracking the speed of the cars. It's actually capable of tracking whether they have their lights on or not, or the siren on or not. So there's some protection from us in the long run by being able to keep tabs on those folks from emergency. But particularly, we meet those requirements so we get the system up and running. One of the things I asked whenever this project was brought up, I said, well, can you find the money somewhere in your budget? And unfortunately, the chief looked, Janet looked, I looked, and we all concurred that the money is not in the budget. It's going to have to come, if it comes from y'all's program, it comes from general fund. But by doing this, we could upgrade our own server. We could upgrade our stuff in the town. We could do it ourselves without entering into an agreement with Macon County to host this, because this particular software would be accessed through the server of Macon County at the courthouse. We could do it ourselves, but according to Kevin McDonald, you're going to add anywhere from $30,000 to $50,000 on top of this licensing fee to get a server up to par to do this two-step authentication thing. That's one of the latest and greatest things in the server. That was a project that I started working on when I was in the county, and it was paid for with some rollover 911 funds that came from the state, plus some addition of other funds somewhere. So, in the best interest of the town, we felt like the best option was to come to you now before we get in a time crunch after July. Ask for a total of $27,297.23, which is a total of the Interact bill plus our share of the other NetMotion bill, $3,750 to be brought out of general fund, because we feel like that we're going to have to do it anyway. It's cheaper for us to partner with Macon County. I'm comfortable with Andy Monks in his computer system, and IT folks in Macon County. Our IT folks are comfortable with them. And I just think it's a win-win for us. You've already paid for it. If you're in city limits, you pay county taxes, you pay that 911 fee somewhere anywhere, so it's already paid for. So why throw our money, good money after bad, if that's already there? Why can't we use theirs? If it works good for 3 or 4 years, by then that hardware can be outdated, and we may need to go back and look at our own stuff. But this gets us up and running for a significant chunk of money, but less than what it could be. So, number one, we're asking for approval to do that purchase and transfer some money out of general fund to actually accommodate this purchase.
Appropriation.
And then secondly, if you approve that as we request, then John has an interlocal agreement with Macon County that we have to enter into to make sure that we're
covered legally.
Next time.
Yeah.
Go this way.
You want a motion on that and the interlocal agreement, or?
I think they need to be separate, Bob.
I'd like to make the motion that we go ahead with the money and do the software upgrade.
Also, we'll save $7,000 by not renewing the software in July.
Bob, if you would frame your motion to include authorization to appropriate the necessary monies out of the general fund.
Can you find it, Janet?
Maybe.
Okay.
I second.
No. We've both got a motion, I think, and we have a second. Now it's time for discussion. We're gonna have to do something, is that right?
Regardless by law.
The law,
Or we can't
yeah.
operate computers, mobile computers.
We have to do something by October,
Yeah,
and
right.
obviously, the issue with this particular project, Macon County did not switch over to this CASIS until sometime in the summer, so there's no way that he could have known when he did his budget last year that this would be something that because there was no way to hook on until they got it up.
You just hired mouthpiece for the police department too.
I like this stuff.
They stick together.
Also packing.
We're neighbors.
Okay. So we got a motion, we got a second. We have any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. Okay, thank you. You're welcome. Keep Warren with you, David, it works out. Now, then, Bob, you want to now to the interlocal agreement?
Yeah, we enter the interlocal agreement with Macon County to operate under their service.
The word about that, this is kind of come on quickly, so the county has not actually approved this yet. There may be some changes. I would ask you for authorization for Warren and Chief Adams and myself that if we need to make minor technical changes to have authorization to go ahead and do those. If there are subsequent changes that need to come back to the board.
I think those have been pretty hashed out, haven't they? But just in case, I remember along with John.
Yeah,
We think
there were a couple of things that Chester had concerned about the length of cancellation thing. But other than that,
As long as we reach the same meeting, the same result. So that motion, Bob?
Yes, sir.
Janet, you got stuff out of Bob here to get a motion to approve it with the,
Agreement with minor changes.
with minor changes, sounds like. There's a motion, then.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Okay. 7B, town board consideration tax refund Cynthia Cheek.
Mr. Mayor, it is, I apologize if this item is even on your agenda. It really doesn't belong on there. That whole situation with this Jenkins, and there really just are no grounds for a refund in this situation. So unless you have questions about it, my recommendation to you would be to take no action at all. We would not ordinarily have come from.
She did make a request.
She did make the request, but and it's been presented, I guess, at this point. You really, it just would not be legal for you to approve it. So,
No, I think that's the board needs to acknowledge that it can't. Because otherwise, if you try to improve a motion such as that, you become liable for it yourself. And it's recommended heartily that you stay away from it.
Very briefly, though, it's just the nature of the request, so the board makes a motion, at least know.
the person who made this request lives outside the town limits due to the county who does the assessment and listing for the town by agreement had listed that property as inside the town limit. There's nobody, it's just a computer system. You know, it's up to taxpayers anyway to know what they're paying taxes on. This particular person got assessed for vehicles that they're not keeping within the town limits. They're not really properly taxable right yet. But they were getting bills and they paid them for several years. There's a past action, they call it, brought it to the attention of the county and the town and got it fixed. But by statute, it is not legal for you to release or refund taxes that have been paid if the request comes more than 6 months after they're paid. And that's what happened with all of the taxes that are.
But their future taxes have been corrected by the county, so
Yes,
it won't happen again.
2012 on has been fixed.
We're not being getting land taxes too, no.
No, sir.
So it's a motion that we
Yes, it is.
deny the consideration of the request I sent you, chief, because it's not allowed to do it by law.
So we just take no action.
I think the manager,
You think we need to go ahead and put it on
I think
record?
since the request is made, it's still where it's.
So is there a motion to deny the request on this chief? Is there a motion to approve?
We've got their checkbook.
Yeah, Janice said we had some money to get it. Motion to approve.
Can we just spend it?
I'll make a motion, we deny the request because the board does not have one.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Okay.
And I'm gonna notify this, so I'll be the bad guy.
Revisions,
Yeah, I know.
revisions to the town of Fraklin sewer use ordinance. Don?
Mr. Mayor, I think in 2009, the town was required to do take a similar action to this. This is the reason that all of the sewer use ordinances before you is that it's been updated to comply with the latest model ordinance that the Dean or Division of Water Quality puts out every so often. It's a part of relicensing for the wastewater collection system. I'd be happy to go through with you the very technical changes that are being made, but I really took it for some time. So if, unless there are questions, I would just recommend adoption of the ordinance as presented.
Basically, the state is going to require you to have it their way or
And I really don't see, there is nothing substituting any of this stuff anyway. It is all just delete a sentence here and it's not.
nothing substantive about the state.
Possible.
Not exclusion on the spot.
Motion to approve the revisions.
We'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Further discussion, any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Any pressing business commentary statements? We've got the March 27th, you see the town hall day. Never bad, it might not be that kind of muster of town to go down there. Robert. Anything else for the board to consider? Motion we adjourn? All in favor, raise your hand. All right.